Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, let's have some fun today. Here for a live chat. Apologies last week for the technical difficulties. We had to cut the show about 30 minutes short. That's on you, StreamYard. Issues have been taken care of. We're back. The Decepticons that were attacking this show, I fought them off. So we're ready to rock. Real quick, I'm always airplane every week, and you guys seem to interested in my stories. So we were in Austin, Texas this last weekend for the UFC. Amazing fight card. Hopefully you check. If you didn't see it, it's on ESPN Plus. Go check it out. It's amazing. One of the best bar scenes in America. Like like everyone judges cities by different things. Like, oh, the food's great, the weather's awesome, the people are nice. I judge cities based purely on bar scene, and it used to be Nashville, best bar scene in America. Austin may have supplanted Nashville. It was amazing. I went to this bar called Unbarleavable, and there's this strip in Austin called Rainy Street. And basically, it was a residential street with houses, but they rezoned it to be bars. So you'll walk down the street, and it'll be a house, like literally like a craftsman house with a front yard, building, living room, backyard, but they converted it into a bar. And it's like you're walking down Frat Row. Like there's just people in lawn chairs in the lawn in front of the bar, and you walk into the bar, and it's, the bar within like the main like living room, and there's a backyard. This one bar had a slide going from the house into the backyard. Awesome time. I had so much fun. I bought the t-shirt at Unbarleavable, and you guys know how cheap I am. So to actually like buy a shirt, normally I just wear stuff that's free, like this one, or people buy me Raider stuff. That's like 97% of my wardrobe. I literally bought a shirt. It was so much fun. So if you have a chance to go to Austin, go to Rainy Street. You'll have a great time. I went to that bar 3 times, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Twice on Friday. Went to the bar on Friday, went and ate, and like, let's go back. That's how much fun it was. So that's Austin. So the big news today, kind of making the rounds, Ndamukong Suh teasing, flirting, insinuating that he might be a Raider. He might sign with the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know which verb you want to use. Is he pitching? Is he teasing? Let's do a little sleuthing. All right. What's Ndamukong Suh doing with the Raiders? So here's the backstory. He was on NFL Live at the desk, and this idea was pitched to him. I believe this was yesterday. Take a listen.
Ndamukong, how about the Raiders? $20 million in cap space right now. Rebuilt offense to compete in the AFC West. You love that tax situation. An interior defensive line, to me, jumps out as a real need on this team because, of course, you got Maxx Crosby and Chandler Jones on the outside. What do you think?
I like it, to be honest with you. Chandler Jones and Maxx Crosby, I was exchanging messages with him the other day. It's an interesting opportunity for sure. We'll see where it kind of ends up, but it could be that NFC West is the AFC West is very, very tough, which should be fun. You get out of that, you're almost destined to get to the Super Bowl.
So, a couple things. We know that Ndamukong Suh and Tampa Bay, done. Ndamukong Suh getting a little long in the tooth, but still pretty effective. For interior linemen, he's one of the best pass rushers. And he's a beast. We also know that he is a mercenary. He will go whoever pays the most. That's what he's going to do. And he's not unlike a lot of players. NFL players or professional athletes in general, they're not that different from you and I. When you're looking for a job, you take a lot of things into consideration. Pay is usually the biggest one, right? It could be anywhere from 60% of your decision to 95% of your decision, right? Pay is obviously a huge part of it. But there's other parts too, right? How long is the commute to work? How much stress am I involved in? How much freedom do I have? All these other things, right? With Ndamukong Suh, pay is like 99% of it, right? It's like it's 99% of his decision making. What am I going to get paid? And that's fine. That doesn't make him a bad guy, but that's what it comes down to. So when they start saying things like, "Oh, well, there's this that's going on that's good. There's this that's going on that's good," it's all about money. Ndamukong Suh tweeted this morning. Adam Schefter was talking about. He's mentioning the that clip from last night, and this is what he said. Ndamukong Suh obviously subtweeted, "Raiders could be fun." So he is flirting with the idea of coming to Las Vegas. I have many thoughts on Ndamukong Suh potentially being in the silver and black. First off, the biggest problem with Ndamukong Suh coming to the Raiders is that I'm going to have to learn how to spell Ndamukong Suh. Like, I just learned yesterday how to pronounce it correctly. And now I'm going to have to learn how to spell it every single time. I'm just going to go like Control-7 and just do like a shortcut. Like, that's going to be a pain in the ass. Ndamukong Suh. You can't even say it, let alone spell it. So that's going to be the biggest problem. Another thing to take in consideration. Now, I know it sounds like he's like excited. I know Raider fans, rightfully so, want to get excited about having a great interior defensive lineman, right? Chandler and Maxx, and then Suh in the middle. Like, sounds awesome, right? But what are we really getting out of Suh? So I've been working in TV for, over half a decade now. I've been on exactly these type of shows, right? Desk shows, fill shows, shoulder programming. This wasn't like a random mention, right? This wasn't the reporter just kind of coming out and saying, hey, lightning just struck my brain. What do you think, Ndamukong? It was TV production every single second on TV. There are multiple emails talking about it. There's a pre-show meeting. There's production meetings, multiple producers, writers, researchers, a lot of people, graphics departments. Like, everyone has to get involved. Like, real, raw, random TV is very rare in sports. So let's not pretend like that just kind of came up randomly, right? Also, Ndamukong Suh, what do we expect him to say? When you are a free agent, when you're looking for a job, he is an unemployed professional athlete right this second. When you're looking for a job, you want as many suitors as possible vying for your services, because that's how you make money. If there was only one team in the NFL that wanted to hire a player, there's no reason why they shouldn't give him the minimum, because you're negotiating against nothing. If you've got 10 teams vying for your services, you can raise the price because you've got a bidding war. You've got teams fighting over your services. That's what you want as a player. That's how you get the most money. So if Ndamukong Suh is brought up, hey, how about playing for this team that's got $20 million in cap space? Oh yeah, and no income tax, no state income tax in Nevada. What do you want him to say? No, I'm not interested. This team, this entity worth billions of dollars that I just want some of those millions of dollars going to me. No, I'm not interested. Kick rocks, Las Vegas. I don't care. Of course he's going to say, yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, let's talk about it. There's some potential here. Of course, that's what he's going to say. So again, I'm not saying like what he's saying is wrong or is being malicious, or there's no reason to think that it couldn't be a Raider. But the idea that, yes, that sounds interesting, or hey, let's talk about it. I don't know. That doesn't necessarily mean that he has a very unique or specific interest in the Raiders, or that negotiations are ongoing, or that he's always wanted to be a Raider, right? This isn't Davante Adams, who's got the picture of himself as a little kid with a Woodson jersey on. His best friend's Derek Carr, and he's literally taking less money to go where he wants. Like, this isn't that situation. This is Ndamukong Suh simply saying, I want as many suitors as possible. And I'm not going to eliminate the Raiders. Now, there's a couple other things that make me think this could happen. He said he talked to Chandler Jones and Maxx Crosby, right? In that clip, he's saying, yeah, we talked back and forth. The NFL is getting more and more like the NBA, where players are taking their destinies into their own hands more and more and more. Now, it's certainly nowhere close to the NBA. There's only one like real guy, like Tom Brady, like really the only guy that can just kind of pick where he goes. Peyton Manning kind of did it as well. It's very rare. You have to be a massive superstar with a lot of clout and a lot of demand, and you basically have to be a quarterback to be able to like demand to go somewhere, right? Like, the only like non-quarterbacks that can pull it off were like Davante Adams, where everything lined up perfectly, right? They still made him the highest paid wide receiver at that second. They still had to give up draft picks. Derek Carr was there. Like, he had that kind of clout. 5-time Pro Bowler. Like, it's very, very rare for you to kind of have that kind of power. And Ndamukong Suh isn't one of those guys. But it's starting to get more and more like that, where it can nudge in that direction. If Maxx Crosby and Chandler Jones are talking Ndamukong Suh, it's pretty safe to say that they're probably talking to McDaniels or some coaches or some scouts or whoever in the Raiders organization that could at least get them thinking about it more, right? At least he's in like the conversation in the building, which if you want Ndamukong Suh to be on the Raiders, you like that. So there's reasons for optimism, but I want to make sure that we're not reading too much into what just happened. This one tweet, Raiders could be fun, right? That sounds to me like, hey, that's another option. Hey, let's get as many offers on the table as possible. That's what Raiders could be fun sounds like to me. I think that's the way to go. The other part is, how does he fit in? I don't know if he fits in well to a 3-4 Patrick Graham Belichick style defense. I certainly don't want to give him top dollar to try to figure it out. The Raiders currently have essentially a 3-year window that they're doing, right? Carr, Crosby, Devontae, Renfro, all their contracts are, some are 5-year contract, but they're basically built for a 3-year window. There's void years at the end, non-guaranteed money at the end. It's kind of a 3-year window. And I don't know if Ndamukong Suh fits what they're doing, but if you can get him for cheap, I'd love him. All right. It's all about the price for me. I don't know if he exactly fits, but he's been a guy that just wanted the highest bidder. So I don't know. If he's just looking for a bidding war and getting the Raiders involved, then I don't think we're going to get him. Now, if there aren't a lot of suitors, and we do have $20 million in cap space, it doesn't look like, and what are we going to do with that money, right? It doesn't feel like the Raiders are going to pick up another right tackle or, guard that we probably need. I don't know if there's DBs or corners that they might want to go after. So we'll see. We'll see with Ndamukong Suh. All right, let's take some questions. So to the Raiders, Sapetcha. Yeah, that'd be great. Jesse Cardenas, Raiders all day, baby. Oxnard Raider, it's happening. I like the optimism. That smirk and that smile says all this is gonna happen, says Jesse Cardenas. Was it a smirk like I know something you don't? Is it a smirk like this is a conversation that's been going on for a while? Or is it a smirk that just says, yes, another bidder for my services? Yes, another team that I can leverage against. Yes, another team that my agent, that when someone else comes with an offer, they can say, well, if you say no, we'll go to Las Vegas. We'll go to the Raiders if you say no. I don't know. Maybe you're better at reading smirks than I am. Craig Campbell, do we really need Suh? I think he's an accessory more than an actual contributor. I mean, he would be a starter, wouldn't he? I would think he'd be a starter. I mean, it's either him or Hankins. Certainly a primary rotational player. We know how often defensive linemen get hurt and how much you'd like to rotate that position, right? You got big boys playing hard, right? That's the position that rotates the most out of any other position in the NFL, right? Defensive linemen, you got to roll, right? You got to keep those motors going. They change shifts as much as hockey players. Suh would make most teams better, but in silver and black, he's a walking suspension in my eyes. So this is another part about the Raiders now, and we've talked about it a lot, how last season there was this energy in the locker room. There is this team unity or cohesion that it sounds like it's just kind of make-believe, kind of dust in the wind, it's not something tangible, but it's what got us to the playoffs last season. We beat multiple teams down the stretch that were more talented than us, that actually had their head coaches from the start of the season, that actually had their number one wide receiver that didn't get a DUI and a pending manslaughter case. Had their star tight end and didn't miss him for 5 or 6 games like the Raiders did. And because of that type of locker room that we have with great leadership and good guys and just solid dudes around, I'm torn. Do we use that tangible good thing and say, all right, we can pick up a couple head cases. We can pick up a couple guys that might be wild cards, that might be a problem, might cause some trouble, because our team is so good and the leadership is so good, we can turn these guys around, right? It's like a girl who wants to date the bad boy. I just feel like I can change him, right? Are we going to be like that, where we can take a risk on wild players with some assorted pasts and say we can change him? like a boyfriend on a Harley and a leather jacket? Or do we say, look, we've got something really good going right now? It is a petri dish and a chemistry beaker where we have to get the perfect level. We don't want to fuck with our pH levels, right? We've got this good thing going, good teams, good leaders, good personalities, hard workers. Let's not risk spoiling it by throwing in some wild cards. I wonder which way they're going to go with it. I don't think it's like black and white one way or the other. Like they're never going to take a chance on a kind of a risky player, and they're, or they're going to like grab every crazy guy they can because they can do it. I think you make that, you pull that trigger if it's worth it, right? You could take Antonio Brown's obviously a bad example because of his tenure with the Raiders, but I think you can risk it on a wild player if he's the best of the best. If he's a generational talent, then you say, okay, our locker room is strong enough that we can absorb this big personality. I don't know if Ndamukong Suh in that sense fits it. I don't think he's so good that you're like, yeah, let's risk him being a problem in the locker room. And also, like, most teammates don't have a lot of bad things to say about Suh. He's a walking suspension in a lot of ways, but it's not like he's awful with his teammates, though. Hyperbolic Raider. I've seen a lot of Chargers and Broncos fans on media begging their teams to steal Suh so Raiders D-line doesn't become more terrifying. I mean, every D-line in the AFC West is terrifying. Right? I mean, that's always kind of part of it, right? Every single good player that we pick up it's a double bonus, right? Like we get a better player and now another team doesn't get a good player. I don't know what the cap situation is, though, in Denver and in LA with the Chargers and Broncos. I don't think they have 20 mil like we do. I don't think so. I know the Chargers are in a good cap situation because they have, a Pro Bowl quarterback on a rookie contract. So that's always a good thing, at least for now. Wait until that roster falls apart in a season and a half when they got to start paying him. That's going to be great. Screw Suh. He's trolled us his entire career. Yeah, but once he's one of us, all is forgiven, right? Right? I mean, if we could pick up Bill Romanowski, like think about it. If the Raiders took in Bill Romanowski with open arms, and I'm glad they did, like one of the biggest jerks in the NFL, right? Lifelong Bronco. Total jerk. And we took him with open arms, we can take Ndamukong Suh. Right? I mean, if Jerry Rice can just go across the bay, go from San Francisco to Oakland, we can take Ndamukong Suh. Dude's only missed 2 games in his entire career. That's unheard of, yeah. He's durable as all hell. Great asset. Jesse again. Yeah, only missing 2 games his whole career and playing defensive tackle. That's unheard of. Yeah, it is nuts. He's definitely got that going for him. So here's another thing I want to get to. Oh yeah, the last thing, real quick. Can't believe I almost slipped my mind. Listen to the last thing Ndamukong Suh says in this diatribe.
Ndamukong, how about the Raiders? $20 million in cap space right now. Rebuilt offense to compete in the AFC West. You love that tax situation. An interior defensive line, to me, jumps out as a real need on this team because, of course, you got Maxx Crosby and Chandler Jones on the outside. What do you think?
I like it, to be honest with you. Chandler Jones and Maxx Crosby, I was exchanging messages with him the other day. It's an interesting opportunity for sure. We'll see where it kind of ends up, but it could be that NFC West is I mean, the AFC West is very, very tough, which would be fun. You get out of that, you're almost destined to get to the Super Bowl.
You get out of the AFC West, you're almost destined to get into the Super Bowl. Is that true, you think? I mean, obviously the AFC West, toughest division in football. As much as I hate to admit it, right? The Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders every season. There isn't a lot of, but this is the thing though, there isn't a lot of historical evidence to back up that claim. Obviously the division's insane. So good. But I was a history major in college. And so I like looking at the history of things because it tells us a lot about what's going to happen in the future. Odds makers, so often they look at long stretches of like long stretches of seasons and like histories as opposed to what happened right now. When Davante Adams got signed to the Raiders, like we're all getting stoked, right? Everyone's talking about it. Oh, Carr to Davante, Carr to Waller, Carr to Renfro. This team's getting insane. The odds for the Raiders winning the Super Bowl didn't budge. Didn't move at all. And that's, I think, an important thing to realize is that if odds makers don't think something is drastically going to change something, then maybe there's something. I'm not saying it's always right, but it's definitely something that you should look at. And so, as good as the AFC West is, historically, only so far the Chiefs recently have done much, right? The Chargers are obviously supremely talented, but because they can't get their coaching situation together, they always flop on their faces. Like they're arguably the most talented team in the AFC West and have been, but they always flop because they're the Chargers. The Broncos have been the bastard stepchild of the AFC West for half a decade, and they've been terrible. I don't know if Russell Wilson immediately U-turns that. Again, I don't believe in that defense without Vic Fangio running it. How good is Russell Wilson still? Yeah, he's a 9-time Pro Bowler, but he's been playing. He's a small guy playing a big man style of football, right? Like running around the way that he does. I don't know if he's the same guy. And then obviously the Raiders are a giant wild card. Like we've been to the playoffs twice in 20 years, and we're stoked. We're loaded now. Carr's in his prime. Renfro's going to be 1 year better. Maxx Crosby's going to be 1 year better. This line, although not good last season by any means, it's only going to be 1 year better, right? None of our linemen are like so old they're getting worse. In fact, they're all so young that they should make big leaps forward every single season. Even if Leatherwood, doesn't get good, he's going to be better. Even if Brandon Parker doesn't become good, he's going to be better. But historically, we've been a poor team in the last 20 years. Simple as that. So I'm very curious. Like the AFC West, it's obviously the most talented. It's obviously the most loaded. It's obviously the toughest division in football. But as I've said time and time again on this show, it is full of wild cards, right? 2 brand new head coaches and then another second-year head coach. New quarterback, new defensive players, new schemes all around, new schemes all over the Raiders, both sides of the ball. It's a wild card. It really is a wild card. All right, so I want to get to this. We did a video, a little short, and Khalil Mack was doing media day in LA or like in Costa Mesa or something for the Chargers. And he was asked about, going back and playing the Raiders, right? You were a Raider first, and then obviously went to Chicago, made your money, and now you're back in the AFC West in powder blue. And this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another game, but also understanding that I heard that crowd cheered me on, and now we're going to hear the crowd boo us. You know what I'm saying? So it's a full circle moment, and I'm just looking forward to having fun, man, playing football again.
So when we played that on our last show, Soto came to a realization. I'm not sure if you guys all saw it or not, but Soto said, wait a minute. The first game that you play against the Raiders is at home. It's week 1 in Los Angeles, and he knows he's going to be booed by Raiders fans because it's all Raider fans in Los Angeles. He's like, oh, ha, ha, ha. He knows that he's going to be booed. He knows that the Chargers don't have any fans. And so when we did, and so I did like a little short, like little YouTube short on that line and what Soto was saying. And I kind of labeled it like Khalil Mack knows the Chargers have no fans. And it's half true, half trolling, just kind of fucking with the 7 Charger fans that are out there. And boy, did people light up the comments. Oh boy, like the 4 or 5 Charger fans that exist were so mad. We're so pissed off. And I looked at this one comment that we got from Austin Wilder Trammell. And he said, make your enemies pay for their own demise. Remember, Raider fans get overcharged to come to games in LA. Every game the Chargers have against the Ray Turds, the Raider fans get charged over $500 a ticket for nosebleed seats. They're literally just supporting the Chargers and helping the Chargers become wealthier faster and stay in LA longer. And then he meant business because he went 4 emojis after that. Laughy face, money face, skull face, clown face. You can always tell how riled up somebody is by how many emojis they use. And nothing you can never come back from a clown face emoji, right? That has to be the least interesting way to come at somebody in a message board or on Twitter or in the comment section, just like clown face. It's like right up there with what happened to you. It's like the least creative way. And so, Austin, this is not the flex that you think it is. By every possible metric, the Chargers have no fans. Television ratings, ticket sales, by every metric, the Raiders have a much bigger fan base, much more passionate fan base, much better fan base than the LA Chargers. But let's look at just one metric, shall we? So Austin is saying, oh, well, the joke's on you, bro. We overcharge you for tickets when you come to LA, and you're just making us more money. So yeah, joke's on you, dog. Okay. Let's look at ticket prices, shall we? So I looked at the first 6 home games of the Chargers and the ticket prices, and then I look at the first 6 home games for the Raiders and their ticket prices. Let's see if this flex by Austin is as big as it is, as he thinks it is. So this is week 3, their second home game. We're going out of order because we're going to do the Raiders last, right? You can see Raiders right here. We're going to do that one last. So here's week 3, second home game for the Chargers. $56 to get in to SoFi Stadium. $56 for an NFL ticket. For a ticket to the National Football League in one of the biggest metropolitans in the world, Los Angeles, in one of the biggest and nicest stadiums on planet Earth, in one of the richest cities on planet Earth. And you can get into this sporting event for 56 American dollars. You can't get 2 beers and a hot dog at most NFL stadiums for $56. But you get entry into this stadium to watch this game for $56. Okay, so I see what you're saying. Maybe I was like, okay, it's the Jaguars. It's the Jags. Who cares about the Jags? That's why the tickets are so cheap. Okay, well, their next home game is against the Broncos. Division rival. Like this one, obviously this ticket must be through the roof. It must be hundreds of dollars. $76. $76 to get into this NFL stadium for a game. Again, in Los Angeles, with a team, and I'll freely admit it, with a superstar quarterback, stars all over the place on both sides of the ball. Still, $76 to get into a division rival game for the Chargers. The next game, Seahawks, back to $58. An old division rival, a previous division rival in the old AFC West, $58. Pennies. I can get $58 panhandling for 2 hours on the 405 freeway. And then I can get into a Charger home game. Next home game, Chiefs. Okay, whoa, we're in 3 figures now. The team that's won the AFC West 6 seasons in a row. Now we've broken the $100 barrier. We're back to a normal priced NFL ticket. $100. That's what it takes to get into the 3-figure range. Dolphins next game back down to 70. And then the last game, and then the Raiders, $200. Twice as much as the second most expensive ticket. That's how much the Raiders own Los Angeles still, despite the fact that the world champion Rams are here and the Chargers, who just went 2 hours north from San Diego, are also here. The Raiders are still the most sought after ticket in Los Angeles. A Raiders ticket is twice as much than the next most expensive ticket to go to a Charger game. That's how much the Raiders own this town. And I live here, so I know. So the old flex that we got from Austin, I'm going to repeat what he said exactly. Make your enemies pay for their own demise. Remember, Raiders fans get overcharged to come to game in LA. Every game the Chargers have against the Raiders, fans are charged over $500 a ticket for nosebleeds. Okay. So yeah, the Raiders pay a little bit more because it's supply and demand. Basic economics. Clearly, this Austin guy's got an MBA in business because he clearly understands that. But if you're saying, oh, wow, you're just making the Chargers get wealthier and better faster. Well, then what does that say about Las Vegas ticket prices? If that's what you're saying, that higher ticket prices mean that your franchise is poised for more growth and to be better, boy, have I got some news for you. First home game of the season for the Raiders, $248 against the Cardinals. There's no rivalry between the Cards and the Raiders. And yet it's $48 more expensive than the Chargers' most expensive ticket. So yeah, Raiders are getting rich too. Let's see the next home game. Broncos, $300 a ticket just to get in. That's a pair of Gucci loafers to be able to just get in to this brand new, beautiful stadium. $300. Next home game. Texans, no one gives a shit. It's $186. $186 to see the Houston Texans, who are actively tanking, who have gotten rid of every star on the team. What's the over-under for the Texans next season? It's like 3.5. They may go winless. And yet, you can still, it's still $186 to get into that game. Next home game, Colts. No rivalry there. $200. Same as it costs to go to a Raider game in Los Angeles. Next home game, Chargers. $225. Last home game, Pats, $296 to see the Patriots play the Raiders in Las Vegas. So this was Austin and other Charger fans' hard flex. It's like, oh, well, because you guys pay so much to go to Charger games, it's only making us better because tickets are so expensive and we're getting all that money. Well, then that must mean the Raiders are going to win 10 Super Bowls, because we're going to make 10 times as much in ticket sales as the Chargers will this season. Now, I'm not bragging that tickets are so expensive because that's what we have to pay now, right? Because the Raiders are such a draw and because they're in Las Vegas in a new stadium and they're such a draw, it's going to cost us more money, which sucks. But then don't give me this argument that the Chargers have it better because there's one game that costs money per season, and that's when the Raiders come to town. Because it just ain't true. All right, send Cal Grizzly Raider. Also, if we bring in Suh, we don't have to rush Nichols and Big Hank back to start the season. That's true. He would also bring a ton of leadership and dog mentality to our defense. Is he a big leader? Is Ndamukong Suh known as like this leadership role guy? I don't know. Maxx Crosby's the leader of that defense. And he's a leader by example. Right, I feel like Denzel Perriman's kind of like the mouth of the leader by mouth, and he's obviously a Pro Bowler, right? He's not like all sizzle, no steak. He clearly backs up what he says, right? He's amazing. But I feel like he's the mouth, the vocal leader, and then Maxx is the leader by example. Half of those 4 to 5 fans are actually just bots on YouTube. Yeah, probably. I find it hard to believe that there's 4 or 5 Charger fans on planet Earth. They got to be just bots. Hyperbolic Raider. I remember when watching Raiders play in LA last season, they said that at most 80% of the stadium were Raider fans. Yeah, absolutely it is. Like, you don't even have to go there to know that. Just like one look of the stadium, it's all black. It's all silver and black. It's all Raiders jerseys. There is a black hole at SoFi Stadium for Charger games. Excuse me. Like, that's how big it is. Now, I am a realist, right? I don't live in fantasy land. Like I think eventually the Rams or Chargers will at some point become the number 1 team in LA, right? Like probably the Rams, right? Because they were here too. They just won the Super Bowl. McVay and that squad, and it's actually their stadium. They're not just tenants like the Chargers are. So I as a whole new generation of fans come in, and there'll be some new Ram fans, and I'm willing to believe that the Raiders will be passed up in LA at some point, but it's going to be like a decade from now. There's just way too much embedded Raider Nation in Los Angeles. So get this, in Long Beach, my hometown of Long Beach, there would be 10 times as many Raider bars, except some bars in Long Beach actively and purposefully try not to be a Raider bar because Raider fans have a reputation. That's even a bigger sign that it's a Raider city. Like what's a better sign that a city belongs to a team? Not that there's a bunch of bars for the city or for that team, but because there's a bunch of bars not trying to be there, right? Because there's been so many Raider fans going to these bars and restaurants that they're like, all right, let's not have them here anymore. They're a little too rowdy. They're a little too big of fans for them to be here. Like, you know how it is. Like, you're a legend if you've been kicked out of that strip club, right? If you have your face, like they took a picture of you and put your face on the bulletin board at the front, like, don't let this guy in. That means you own that place more than if you've been going there. The numbers, Chandler Jones and Mad Maxx in talks to Ndamukong Suh recruiting. Yep. And I think that's I'm very curious what those conversations were. I think that's a big part of it, right? We heard Suh say, yeah, I've been talking to Chandler and Maxx and texting back and forth. Now, did Chandler and Maxx reach out to Suh, or did Suh reach out to them? That's a big one, right? Like, who slid into whose DMs first? Like, that's a big one, right? Because it's obviously, again, same thing about Ndamukong Suh not going to say no to an offer, or not going to say no to, potentially being interested in another team. Like, you want as many offers as possible. So Maxx Crosby and Chandler Jones, if Ndamukong Suh hits them up and says, hey, like, I'm thinking about being a Raider, what do you guys think? They're not going to say, oh, no, we don't want an experienced defensive tackle who never gets hurt playing next to us. No, not interested at all. And it's not like it's their money either, right? So of course they're going to say, like, yeah, dog, let's do it. Let's talk, right? That'd be awesome. Or was it Maxx Crosby and Chandler Jones getting together and saying, look, we got $20 million in cap space. Suh's just kind of floating around there in free agency. The reports just came out that, he's not going back to the Bucs. Let's reach out, right? He's the number one guy that we're going to reach out to. Let's tag team him, right? Two very different situations. And we don't know which one it was when Ndamukong Suh said that he's talked to Maxx and Chandler. We don't know which direction, who hit on who first, right? It's like if you go to, like, when you hit on a girl at the bar, like, she's kind of in control a little bit. It's like, you're the one that's kind of putting yourself out there, She all of a sudden, like, if she's a cool chick, she's like, oh, I'm so flattered. Let's talk. If she's kind of a bitch. She's like, oh, yeah, I'm the hot thing around here. Maybe I'll talk to you. Maybe I won't. That's a big part of this conversation. Bring in Suh and extend Waller. I'm good with our offseason. Extend Waller after this season. That's what I say. Wait to extend Waller because he's got 2 years left on his deal. We can use the money on somewhere else, right? This is what I'd be upset about. If we bring in Suh, we pay him 13. I don't know. I don't know what the number. I have no clue what we'd have to pay him. 10 mil, maybe a little less, something like that. And we pay him that when there's, like, other really good free agent tackles, or at least, like, average or above free agent right tackles out there, then I'd be like, ugh. That's rough. As long as we take care of Waller, I'm good with Suh. Look, we're not going to not sign Darren Waller because we sign Ndamukong Suh. That's just not going to, like, it's just not, like, the logistics, the timing, the contracts. It doesn't work out that way. I'm not saying that Waller is untradeable or there's a 0% chance that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's a very small chance. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not like Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels are like, oh, we can only pay one, Ndamukong Suh or Darren Waller. Ziegler has shown that he's pretty damn good at this GM thing, at least when it comes to managing contracts and handling logistics. Like, he's paid a lot for some guys, and he's paid just a decent amount for some other guys. And again, Waller's got 2 years left on his deal. It's not like he's holding out or even disgruntled, no matter how often Mike Florio and other media members want to make it sound like, oh man, Waller's pissed. Waller deserves more money. This is outrageous. This is irreversible. Oh my God. Like that. No matter how much the media does that, none of that's come from Darren Waller. Zero. Nada. Zilch. None of the complaints are coming from Darren Waller. And even though he's been pressed in every single fucking interview, are you going to get paid more? Are you going to get paid more? What do you think of the contract? What do you think of the contract? He always says, hey, I'm going to let my agent handle it. I'm just worried about being better. That's what he always says. And his actions, which is more important than words, his actions always coincide with it. He made it to every single voluntary workout. He's never said or acted disgruntled in any way, shape, or form. My LBC is all Raiders. Yeah, yes, it is. In my neighborhood right now, there's 3 Raider flags in just this neighborhood. 3 Raider flags. And a fucking Chiefs flag 7 doors down from me. I can't confirm that. Been the last 5 games in LA. We definitely take that shit over. No doubt about it. Conflicting rumors about whether Raiders are interested in Suh. What are the conflicting rumors? So far, I've only seen, the only tangible thing we've seen is Ndamukong Suh saying, oh yeah, great idea. I'm down. That could work. That's basically been it. $7 million for Suh. What say you? I could do that. I can do $7 million. 1 year deal. 1 year deal, $7 million. What did he have? 9 million, 8 million, and 9 million? Because he's on like back to back to back. I'm just doing this off the top of my head. Back to back to back 1 year deals. I think it was 9 mil, 8 mil, 9 mil. Can someone look that up for me? Research department, help. How would you feel if we traded for Marcus Peters? I don't want to give up anything real for Marcus Peters. He might not take that low. 9 to 13 mil. Again, I think it was 9, 8, and 9. El Bronholio, still love that name. No Suh, save the money and patch what calamities hit us during this season. Well, I think we've patched most calamities from last season, right? Like, what were the calamities of last season? Lost a head coach, got a new one, arguably a better one. Lost our number 1 wide receiver in Henry Ruggs, got the best wide receiver in football in Devontae Adams. Darren Waller was hurt. Hopefully he'll be healthy. And we got Foster Moreau to back him up too. I know Foster didn't play that great last season. I think they tried to make Foster be Waller, and that's the problem. I think Foster Moreau is, one of the best backup tight ends in football and above average starting tight end. But you can't say, all right, be Darren Waller. Be a 6'6" fast guy for a receiver. He's the fastest tight end in football. Just be that guy. He's not that guy. He's different, right? Blocks a little better, right? Has a couple more strengths than Waller, but mostly, Waller's got most of the strengths, which is why he's, top 3 tight end in football. I think we patched the calamities last season, other than O-line. O-line, I think, is the only thing where we didn't, make big moves to help fix the problem. If we do get Suh, what position will be our weakest link in our defense? DBs. Still DBs, right? Rock Yassin has flashed and improved in Indy, but still a giant question mark. Trayvon Mullen, still young, still a question mark, and just got hurt. Trayvon Mullen is the biggest question mark for DBs. Other than Trevon Moehrig and Nate Hobbs, that's it. 2 second. And again, as great as they played as rookies, they played great for rookies. I'm not, they're Hobbs and Moehrig, these guys that are just going to knock everyone's socks off and Pro Bowl players. God, I hope so. And they flashed for sure. And also, you're generally painting with broad strokes. Your biggest jump as a player is from your first year to your second year, right? It's just bam, reality hits you when you're a rookie, right? You're used to playing against 19-year-old college kids. Now you're going against 25-year-old men who are pros and millionaires. But that should be their biggest jump, right? And then Jonathan Abram. Again, I'm more optimistic about Abram than Soto is because he's improved every single season, right? But he's obviously still a major liability in coverage, but he's also an amazing tackler and great in the box. And I think he was second in tackles on the team before he got hurt. So, but he's improving. He's, his coverage skills have improved, if it's still not good. So it's got to be DBs, right? Linebackers are awesome, right? We got Perriman and Kuntz. Divine Diablo. True, but tight end market is only going up. Might be better to get a deal done now. So we did a whole video on this, Soto and I. And you're right. It's gone up. When the Browns signed their tight end, he's like top 5 paid tight end. His best season is still not as good as Waller's worst season. His best season is not as good as Waller's worst season, but the difference is timing. There's no real tight end that's like has a contract coming up that will reset the market. Every position is going up. Every single position. Quarterback, wide receiver especially, quarterback especially. Just about every single position, the cost is going up. Right? Some are going up slower than others, like linebackers not exploding. I take it back. Running back is the one position I think that's slowing down. I think people are starting to realize like all these highly paid running backs is just not worth it. Excuse me. But I think we can wait one more year on Waller before we make our move. We're going to do that. David Kellenberger. Oh, I want a burger right now. If we can bring him in for $7 million plus incentives to 8+ for Super Bowl and such, bring him in. Yeah, make it incentive laden. That's always the wild card, right? Like you talk contracts, you're like, well, we're going to pay him this much. You know, it's $60 million, 21 guaranteed with tons of incentives and dead money on the back end, right? Yeah, I'm always down for making things incentive laden, right? You're playing for tips. Did you catch Rich Eisen interview Darren Waller the other day? He had glowing remarks about Carr, Adams, and Renfro. Yes. Every interview he does, it's glowing comments about everything Raider. Every interview he does, glowing comments about every single teammate. Here's my challenge. Here's the challenge to every single person who thinks Darren Waller's frustrated, doesn't like his contract, he's going to hold out, he's mad. Show me the biggest piece of evidence that he's either said or done from him. I know what the contract is. Don't remind me. Show me one time where Darren Waller is the most disgruntled. What's the most angry, frustrated, or disgruntled we've ever seen of Darren Waller? The most ever. Please find that and show it to me. Because he's had nothing but good things to say about everybody. And his actions back it up. Raiders Digest. Okay, so this is the conflicting reports. Josina says, we're not interested. Another writer says it's us and Minnesota. Okay. So conflicting reports, right? Again, like I said at the very beginning of the show, Ndamukong Suh is never going to say, if you go to Ndamukong Suh and say, hey, would you be interested in playing for the Raiders? They have $20 million in cap space. He's never, ever going to say no. Because that's bad negotiating. You want as many options as possible because that's how you raise your price up. And especially the timing now when Tampa Bay has come out blatantly and said, yeah, we're moving on from Suh. Like, yeah, we're done, right? So there's one suitor gone immediately, right? Of course, he's looking for as many teams as possible that can say, hey, I'm interested. I still like Phylon. What's up with him? Still injured? Yeah. Still hurt. So this is like, we all loved Phylon, right? Me and Soto were we were riding the Phylon, right? I want him on just so we can start quoting Dave Chappelle more, right? Yeah, Phylon, great. But he got like major injury at his age. And so everyone's still kind of like waiting and watching. And I'm sure Phylon's in the same situation. I think he would love to be in Las Vegas, but it's a new regime, right? We might see him in Indy. Back with Gus Bradley. We need some dog on the line. We don't got dogs on the line? Maxx Crosby, Chandler Jones, Hankins. We got pit bulls on that line. We got rabid Doberman pinchers on chains with the spikes on their collars on our line. Our line's the best part of our defense. Our D-line's never been better. Oh, we got dog on our line. Absolutely. It's like a dog pound. You're right. We're better off spending the money on O-line. Now, this obviously, Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler are fully aware of how the O-line performed last season, are fully aware we have $20 million in cap space, and they still haven't made a move. There's something here. It's unquestionably the weakest part of our offense and probably the weakest part of our entire team, at least historically and on paper, based on last season's performance. And all they've done is re-sign the guys already on that. That's not true. They drafted a couple linemen. That's, with a third-round pick, they drafted an O-lineman at a position he's never played. So there's got to be something here. And we know that McDaniels and Ziegler like to keep their cards close to their vest. Like, they're not going to say, like, their plan for the O-line. Oh, yeah, like we just feel like Tom Cable was trash last year. This O-line's got talent. We just got to coach him up. Or they're not going to come out and say, what I think their strategy is that they want to just have a young O-line that can just grow together, because O-line continuity is one of the most underrated factors in winning a Super Bowl. Again, I keep bringing it up. I got to hit up Barnwell about this, but Bill Barnwell of ESPN, I brought it up a couple times before, had this stat of like, and I'm butchering these numbers, but it's something like in the last 15 years, only 10 times has a team had the same 5 O-linemen start every single game. And like 8 of those teams went to the Super Bowl. So it's one of the most underrated facets of going to the Super Bowl, having your team have success, is keeping your O-line together. So I think their strategy is just to go very, very young, because generally the younger you are, the less injury prone you are, right? Painting with broad strokes. The younger you are, the less injury prone you are, and you have more time to play together. It's almost more, I believe they think it's more valuable to have semi-inexpensive young O-linemen that play really well together than having really expensive individual players on your line that change every season. I think that's what they're thinking. And also, just like money-wise, if that's a philosophy that works and you can save yourself a ton of money, then you do it. How the hell do you actually pronounce Morig? Trayvon Morig, right? Isn't it Morig? Trayvon Morig? Don't ask me. I'm the last person on planet Earth that you want to ask pronunciations for. Like I said, I just learned like a week ago how to pronounce Ndamukong Suh. Now I have to spell it? No, thank you. Would a 1-year, $16 million fully guaranteed extension make sense for Waller this year? No. He's already playing he's already on contract for the next 2 seasons. This is what I think, this is what I hopefully do with Waller, right? And I know this, I know you guys are worried, like you want to pay Waller. Like, Waller's awesome. He's amazing talent. He's a great teammate. We want him on the Raiders. He's amazing, right? Look what Josh McDaniels did with Rob Gronkowski, right? Imagine what he can do with Darren Waller, okay? Like, we're all freaking out about Darren Waller. He's got 2 years left on his deal. If they do a deal, it's going to be an extension, like Hunter Renfrow, right? Like, Renfrow is still like making pennies next season, but he has a ton of guaranteed money after that. So Hunter Renfrow was a 2-year extension on top of the end of his contract, right? So there's a difference between reorganized contract, new contract, and extension, right? Extension is like, all right, we're going to tack this on to the end of the contract you currently have. That's what it would be for Waller. It would be very similar to Hunter Renfrow. He plays next season. He has 1 season left on his contract. They give him a 2-year extension on top of that for 3 total years. And that's where his guaranteed money comes in, right? That's what it would be for Waller. Something like that. Derek is fast at the line. Even if the line isn't great, his weapons are. So a lot of like the trash talk I got about the Raiders from my, like Bronco and Chiefs buddies is that Derek Carr gets befuddled when he gets pressured, and this shitty O-line is going to cost us. He is so good pre-snap, seeing where the blitzes are. Like, he's one of the best quarterbacks in football against the blitz, because he sees it, knows where the opening is, and goes. What he struggles against is guys that can just rush with 4. Like, that's kind of where he struggles. I heard, I don't know if this is like common knowledge, but Josh McDaniels told his young rookie quarterback last season in New England that he wants him throwing the ball away. He doesn't want him scrambling. Like, he was literally going to be fined if he scrambles. I think we're going to see a drastic decline in Derek Carr turnovers this season, because that's such an important part of Josh McDaniels. Now, I think now with that comes the flip side of the coin, where he's not going to be launching the ball that much. He's not going to be doing as many 50-50 balls. He's not going to be throwing the ball, to to some random third string wide receiver because he sees the back of the DB's jersey and just going for it, right? Trying to get those PIs. I think we're going to see less of that because turnovers are such a pet peeve of Josh McDaniels. Have you done record prediction? We haven't yet. We like saving that for closer to the season. Because there's still like the first training camp, like the first OTAs and like team meetings just ended. Like our full roster isn't even done yet. We have 90 players on the roster. We don't even know what our full roster is going to be. We don't know if we're going to add at the O-line. We don't know what's going on. So I like to wait. I also like it's when I also look at it like when I make fight predictions. Like I'll make a prediction on like a Tuesday for a Saturday fight, but I'll always say I will also give myself the out after the weigh-in because I like seeing the fighter on the scale. How are they looking? Nervous, dehydrated. No, they're always dehydrated. They just cut weight. But I like having that bit of information before I make my official prediction. Kind of the same thing here. I'd kind of like to see some offseason games. And I know that McDaniels isn't going to, spill the beans on their offense. But just how are the guys driving together? How are the O-line playing together? What's the locker room, the sideline vibe like? That's all things I want to see before I make an official prediction. I can guesstimate predictions. Like I'll give you some ideas, but official prediction where you're going to hold me to the fire? Not yet. Which player on our team that no one is talking about is going to have a breakout season? Mine is Kuntz. Kuntz is a good one. I think any of our second year players could have a big breakout season. Like we mentioned Morrig and Hobbs. I think both those guys are really good options for a breakout season. I mean, we can go with the obvious, right? Like a Chandler Jones. Like, is he going to come, like, having someone like Maxx Crosby on the other side, is that going to just like unleash his potential again? I think it's one of our second year players. I think one of our second year players will show out for us. You want a wild card? Wild card would be Alex Leatherwood, just because of how bad he was last season. If he can get to average, like back at the position he belongs in, hopefully a scheme that can work out for him. The middle of that defense been softer than drugstore cotton for years. Yeah. God, how lucky are we now to have Denzel Perryman and then like Divine Diablo and like other like young guys coming up at linebacker? Like it was a barren wasteland at linebacker for the Raiders forever. If we run power, Josh Jacobs will be fine. If we run power, Josh Jacobs is going to get hurt. That's what I'm worried about. This is durability. But we don't have to get worried anymore because we're going to have like 7 running backs because that's how Josh McDaniels rolls, right? I think Drake will have a good year. Obviously, Zamir White's going to, come in as the rookie and he'll get some snaps. Raiders are a terrible team to go running back for fantasy football. That's what basically what it is. It's a hard team in general for fantasy football. Like, because Devontae Adams is obviously the best, he's the best wide receiver in football, but he was always the man in Green Bay. Like he was the guy. Now he's going to have to share some targets with Renfro and Waller, and McDaniels likes to throw to running backs. Just go kicker. That's what I did for like 20 years for the Raiders. Seabass, you're my Raider. You're my Raider on my fantasy football team. I love Rich Eisen. He's the only respectable media saying Raiders will be a threat in the playoffs and calling out the Broncos for being overrated. Rich Eisen's always been a pretty fair guy. Like he's also one of those guys that loves everybody, like it's rare for him to like badmouth any team, player, coach. Like unless you like beat your wife or get suspended for drugs or something, like it's very rare Rich Eisen comes down on you. But I think also his relationship with Mayock over the years made him be a little more positive with the Raiders. Here we go. Phylon. Thank you, Moonheads official, for the super chat. Appreciate it. That's honestly the best part about having Phylon on the team. Anytime I can incorporate Dave Chappelle quotes into a show, it's a good show. Dutch Master 710. LOL. Suing the Bucks means scariest run stopping D-line in the league. I wonder how our run stopping D-line will be. Like Maxx Crosby's known for his pressures, but he's obviously, a well-rounded end. Pretty good run stopper. Chandler Jones, again, also pretty well-rounded end. Sue and Hankins in there. Good run stopping. Yeah. Over the last 2 years, the team that hosted the Super Bowl won it. If that streak keeps going, then Cards will win it this year, and the Raiders will win it next year. Yeah, isn't that crazy how 50-something straight years the host team never won the Super Bowl, and now we're back-to-back? That'd be awesome. Win the Super Bowl in Vegas. I'll win it anywhere. I'll win it in Phoenix. I'll win it in London. I'll win it on a barge in international waters. I don't care where we win it. But to win it in Vegas, they may burn that city down. Raider fans may chop down the stratosphere and have it fall to the earth. Right? I'm from LA. We riot every single time the Lakers win a championship. Imagine what they would do in Vegas. Raider fans completely taking over Las Vegas, and they win the Super Bowl. Suing the Raiders, he's washed. Is he? What evidence is that he's washed? He's not the same guy. He's not, a prime Ndamukong Suh. Let me know, Dutch Master. What evidence do you have that he's washed, other than he's just 1 year older than he was last season? Trust the process in regards to the old line, David Kellenberger. This is my thing on trust the process. You can say trust the process when you've won as many Super Bowls as Bill Belichick has. You can say trust the process when you have 2 decades of dominance. Then you can say, yeah, look, maybe you don't understand what's going on. Maybe on paper it doesn't look that good. But look at these rings. Look at these banners. That's when you can say trust the process. And I think Josh McDaniels' biggest failure in Denver when he was head coach there, and I'm hoping, and I'm cautiously optimistic, that he learned that he can't say trust the process when you yourself don't have the clout to do it. He can't wander into Denver and say like, yeah, guys, I know you don't get what I'm doing. I know I'm not very personable, but do what I say because I know what I'm talking about. You can say that when you're Nick Saban. You can't say that when you're a first-year head coach. You can't say that when you're Josh McDaniels and your only time away from New England, you were a failure. He was a straight-up failure in Denver. He was a straight-up failure as the Rams offensive coordinator the next season. Like he has been nothing but a failure outside of New England. Now, again, I'm cautiously optimistic that he's learned from that and now he's better. I'm not as optimistic as Soto, who thinks, he's the best play caller in football. He's totally figured it out. He's going to be an amazing head coach. I'm not as pessimistic as Rory. He's like, the guy sucks. He was a Bronco. What does he know? This is terrible. I'm kind of in the middle, leaning a little Soto, cautiously optimistic, because all the evidence says that Josh McDaniels is a failure outside of New England. I'm just worried that this Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler thing that's going on, if it does blow up in the Raiders' face, it's going to look like, hey, we should have saw this coming because the evidence is there, right? Again, cautiously optimistic. That was years ago. He's certainly proven himself as an offensive coordinator in New England. He's saying all the right things that he's learned, and this is how I'm learning. He has his little notebook of stuff that he's learned, and I think Dave Ziegler is kind of the people person between the tandem, helps a lot as well. But again, like long circling back to your comment, David, you can't say trust the process when your process hasn't done shit. Do you play fantasy football, RJ? Yes. I'm on 2 or 3 fantasy football leagues this season. I never do more than 3. I was in 5 one season and it was not fun. It just wasn't a good time. I'm in 1 league that I've been in for over a decade with all my boys that I've had for years. And I'm in 1 league with the UFC. The UFC league that I'm in, it's got Daniel Cormier's in it, John Anik's in it, a bunch of like producers and stuff. Brian Stan is still in it, even though he's done with fighting and he's like doing like real estate stuff. Still in the fantasy football league, which is cool. I like your Leatherwood pick. Diablo might be another candidate. Yeah. Again, rookie to second year, generally the biggest jump. Usually painting with broad strokes. And every single one of our draft picks last season, other than Leatherwood, I think it's safe to say exceeded expectations for their position. right? Every single one of our picks last season exceeded expectations based on where they were drafted. Hobbs, starter, fantastic. Morrig, you never see. There's certain positions where the more you hear your name, the better you are. And positions where the less you hear your name, the better you are. Like, you never want your name called when you're an offensive lineman, right? Like, that's not because you're holding or offsides or something. You always want your name called when you're a wide receiver. If no one's talking about you, you're not doing anything. Free safety like Morrig is in between. Like, you rarely ever heard Morrig like just getting beats. Like, oh man, there's, Mike Williams is blasting past Trayvon, beat him for a touchdown. Like, you didn't hear that. We also didn't hear like, oh, what a great play. Oh, another interception. Trayvon Morrig. Kind of in between. All right. It's been an hour. I'm already starting to sweat. It was 90 degrees in Long Beach yesterday. Dying. Bought a little kiddie pool for the kid. Some squirt guns. Summer's here. Summer's here, baby. I barely got to anything I wanted to get to because we got so many comments and conversation stuff. All the Ndamukong Suh stuff we got to talk about. I'm glad I could bring up that Khalil Mack video and how the Charger bots are kind of self-owning themselves. Glad we got to that. We will record our main show and the podcast tomorrow with me and Soto. I want to talk about Josh McDaniels, the play caller, because a recent ranking came out by PFF, and he wasn't even in the top 10 as a play caller. And I also want to get to what's a realistic defensive expectation for the Raiders next season? What's a realistic expectation? Because we're at a lot of talent. I have faith in Patrick Graham. We've been a trash defense for 20 years. You just don't do a 180 off of that. So those are a little tease, if you will. Thanks everybody who chatted. Thanks again, Moonheads, for the super chat. Much appreciated. We will be back in a few days. And until then, knock on wood if you're with me.